Hello again, welcome to Basics of Finite Element Analysis. This week we have started with the introductions to the course, and in the last lecture what we had discussed was how shape functions and their amplitudes are assigned over an element. And specifically we had developed this relation that in context of flow of heat in a pipe which is radially symmetric and all the boundary conditions are symmetric. So, how is temperature changing with respect to radius? We had said that if I break the domain that is the region of our interest, which is from r is equal to r I to r is equal to r O, inside radius to outside radius, if I break that domain, so that is my domain RO, RI, and this is RO, and I break it into several elements such that this is my first element, second, third, and that is the nth element, and the size of each element is H1, H2, H3, Hn. Then we had developed an expression that temperature in eth element, excuse me, this has to be subscript, in eth element, and it changes with respect to r. So, it is a function of r, can be expressed without losing any generality as a sum of some interpolation functions. Each of these interpolation functions is a function of r, and because it is associated with eth element, I have a superscript e, and these number of elements is from 1 to n, and the amplitude of each of these interpolation functions is ascribed by t's. So, this is Tj, and because again it is associated with eth element, it is Tj and superscript e. So, this is the expression which we have developed, and in this development we have not lost any generality, because I can make the transition within the element as much complicated and as much varying as I want if I increase the order of these shape functions or interpolation functions. So, that is all I have done. I have not solved any problem, but I have assumed that temperature changes over the length of an element in a particular way, and how it changes is actually defined by these psi functions. Okay. So, that is what I have done. Now, I can look at this Tj and psi j in a little different way also. So, suppose I have an element, so let us say this is an eth element, this is eth element and its length is He, right. So, there are n shape functions associated with this element, which, so a total of n polynomial functions help characterize how T varies over eth element. And we had said that Tj is the amplitude of these polynomial functions, but another way to look at these is that Tj E is the value of T at jth point in, and why we can say this is, we will see it later, is nothing but the at the jth point in eth element, and it is unknown, and it is unknown. We do not know it. We know size because we are assuming if it is constant then it is 1, if it is linear then it is ax plus b, right. So, we know how size are varying, but the values of those constants we do not know. Okay. So, Tj is the value of t at jth point in eth element. Okay. Now, what you are seeing here is there are only 2 points. Let us say this is P1 and this is P2, right. So, but we have n such functions. So, what are the other points? So, for a linear element, so what is a linear element? Where the value of t is changing linearly over its length, its value of linear, it is changing linearly over its length, then we have to know the value of t at 2 points, right. For a linear element, we need to know only t at P1 and t at P2, right, and then we can interpolate. So, then we can develop an interpolation function based on that. If it is a quadratic element, then what do we do? Then we need an extra point, let us say a P3. Because to perfectly define a quadratic curve, we need know t at P1, P2 and P3. So, we have to find the displacement, or in this case the temperature, at an intermediate point also, at an intermediate node also for a quadratic, if we are using a quadratic element. Or so what does a quadratic element mean? That temperature is changing quadratically over the element. If we assume that it is changing quadratically, but in reality if it is changing linearly, then when we will do the calculations, one of the constants associated with quadratic, it will come out as 0. Okay. It will come out as 0. Similarly, if it is a cubic element, then we need maybe one more point, P4. Okay. So, this j is going from 1 to n, and n indicates the order of element. Agreed? If it is a quadratic element, then n indicates the order of elements, and it also indicates number of points per element. So, if it is a linear element, then n will be 2, so n is not exactly okay. So, so order will be n minus 1, order is equal to n minus 1, right. So, if it is a linear element, n is 2 because we need 2 points, agreed, we need 2 points to make a line, n is 2, and it is a linear curve, so order is 1. And how many points will be needed on the element? 2 points. So, number of points will be 2. Tje is the value of, in this case, see if you know the values at 3 points, then in terms of those 3 points you can construct a polynomial function. So either you can say the other way, that they are amplitudes of individual functions, but here I am saying that if I know the values, then I can construct a curve which is a quadratic curve. So TJE is the value of t at jth point. So this is first point, this is second point, this is third point. Maybe now my numbering scheme has gone wrong. This should, so but this is second point, this is third point, this is fourth point. So TJE will be the value of t at jth point in the eth element. Okay. So an n indicates how many points we will have on the element, and n will also help us determine the order of the element. In finite element codes, you will, if you explore, you will say, oh, it's a quadratic element. It means that the function or the unknown is varying in a quadratic way over the element. That is what it means. It's a linear element, it's a cubic element. So now I am again introducing some extra terminology. So then you have to become increasingly more comfortable with this terminology. So n indicates the order of the element, not, it does not mean n is equal to order, but n is equal to n minus 1 is the order, and it also indicates how many points you have per element. TJE is the value of t at jth point in eth element, and based on all this understanding, if we have a linear element, we need 2 points, and these 2 points will be at the boundaries. If we have a quadratic element, we need 3 points, 2 will be at the boundary and 1 node will be at the somewhere in the middle. If we have a cubic element, 2 points will be on the boundaries and 2 points will be in the middle, and so on and so forth. So to make it more explicit, it is at jth geometric point in the element. But even if I remove this geometric, it does not change much. Okay. So we will recap. Number of functions, yes, it is same. For instance, ax square plus bx plus c, it has a c which is one function, x square, x is another function, x square is a third function, and it is a sum of those functions. That is why we are summing. Now these functions will not be as simple as this, the way I have explained. They will be little more complicated, but ultimately when you do all the analysis, it boils down to that if you have n functions and the amplitude of each function is 1 in a normalized way, then at each point whatever is the value of that function, it will be it will indicate the value, the displacement or the temperature or whatever. Okay. So that is there. But right now we are still at we are coming from that example area under the curve, where we saw that depending on how we interpolate, it influences the accuracy, and now we have expanded this concept further. Okay. Now so what do we do with these? What do we do with these things, this equation? T E R is equal to summation of T j psi j r E, and E j is equal to 1 to n. This is for eth element. Here psi j r is known, right, it is known, and T j E is unknown. T j E is unknown, right. How many unknowns we have now for each element? We have small n. So total of n unknowns per element. In this case, in mechanics, you will not only have one variable temperature, you will have u, v, w, so it will be 3n, right, because there will be n u's, n w's, n u, v's and also so on and so forth. But in this we have only one variable, temperature. So we have to find n unknowns per element. We have to find n unknowns per element. If we choose a linear element, then we have to calculate 2 unknowns. If we choose a quadratic element, we have to find the values of endpoints and also add one middle point. If we choose cubic element, we have to find 4 unknowns and so on and so forth, right? But the point is that we have assumed that this is how t varies over radius. So what do we do? So I am giving again, now up to this I have given you in detail. Now I will give you an overview, because all the details will go step by step, we will develop step by step. So what do? We know these functions, these constants we do not know, we plug this, in the differential equation. We plug this in the differential equation. So what do we get? Will the equation be 100% satisfied? This is a very general thing. There is no reason to think that equation is going to be 100% satisfied, unless our choice of these functions is exact and correct. These functions, this for TE, this is a function, Tj, psi j, it is a function. Psi j could be x, psi 1 could be x, psi 2 could be x square, psi 3 could be x cube and so on and so forth, right. So this is some general function, there is no guarantee that it is going to satisfy this differential equation, there is no guarantee. So if it does not satisfy, then what do we get? Plug this and then we get error, okay. And what we do is, we integrate that error iteratively, we integrate that error with some other function. Now, and do not get confused by some other, because maybe in 4 or 5 lectures then things will become very clear. So some other, so we integrate this error iteratively. So first time we multiply it by one weight function and we integrate it over the length of the element. So that is my domain. Domain is what? H e minus 1 to h e, right. And we say that this integral over of the error, it is not 0 at point by point basis, but over the whole domain it is 0, integral of that error. Then second time we multiply it by another function and we get another equation. So this gives us an equation. What kind of equation this is going to be? These are known functions, and most likely we will choose polynomial functions. We will choose polynomial functions, we will not use complicated. Polynomial we can integrate very easily. So when we integrate, what do we get? We will get some algebraic equations. Now how this process happens and what is the mathematics, we will explain it later. So we multiply it by one function and integrate it over the domain, we get one equation. Then we multiply it by another basis, another function, and again integrate it over the thing, we get equation number 2. And we keep on doing it till we get n equations. How many unknowns were there? Small n. So we do this process n times. Why we do it n times, what is the mathematics, we will learn later, but I am just giving you an overview. So, and how many unknowns were there? Small n. So we have small n variables and small n equations. So at this stage we have at least the same number of unknowns and same number of equations, okay, and then maybe we will be able to solve that. But right now we are at what level? Element level. So we develop n equations at element level. Okay. And at this stage we do not solve it. Why? Because we have to connect our element to the neighboring element. Only then we will know what are the interrelationships, है ना? Only then we will know what are the interrelationships. So we will connect first element to the second element to the third element to the fourth element, right? So first we will develop equations at element level, and then we will assemble. And how this assembly process happens, we will learn it, but I am now giving you the algorithm. Assemble all these equations. At element level. So we will assemble all these elements to get assembly level equations. Okay, we will assemble all these equations to get an assembly level equation. So at element level, we have when you have n equations, no, this is element level. So if there are n equations, then there will be n variables, T1, Tn, है ना? And this is for the eth element, right? And this will be, when we get, there will be some constants here, you know, some vector will be. So this will be the format of those equations in matrix form. Agreed? This will be an n by n matrix. This will be a vector or a column matrix which will be having n rows and one column, and this will also have n rows and one column. But at this stage we cannot solve it. If you solve it, actually you will get, everything will be trivial solution, 0, 0, 0, 0. Because right now you have not assembled it. You have not connected this matrix with another set of matrix equations for the next element with another set of. So you will create all these equations. How many times? N times. Understood? What is n? Big N, number of elements. So you will write all these element level equations for n different, big N different times, and then using some principles of mathematics, we will figure out how to assemble these equations. Okay, we will figure out how to assemble those equations, and finally when you assemble these equations, you will get one big matrix. Okay, so you will get one big matrix of this form. What will be the size of this matrix? Huh? No, not capital N. N is the number of elements. This will be total number of nodes. If all the elements were linear, how many nodes would be there? Huh? No, not 2n, not 2. You have, suppose, no. So this is the nth element, first element, second element, third element, like this. So how many nodes? It will be n plus 1, right? So total number of nodes will be n plus 1 for linear elements. So this size of the matrix will be n plus 1 by n plus 1. Agreed? If you have quadratic elements, then how much will be there? N plus 1, and then there will be one node in the middle for each element. So it will be n plus 1 plus n. Agreed? For quadratic elements. If it is a cubic element, then it will be n plus 1 plus 2n for cubic elements. Agreed? So, this size of the matrix will be based on how many elements we have and how many, what is the order of each element. It will depend on number of elements and order. Okay. So, at least for line 1D elements it will be, yeah, so this is there, and this is only if there is one single variable t. If there is one single variable t, this is a single variable problem. Okay. You can have several variables u, v, w, then there are 3 equations, so everything gets multiplied. Okay. So, this is the next step. So, before first you develop element level equations. We will learn how the mathematics of it later, but now I am giving you the procedure. You develop element level equations by somehow computing the error, multiplying it by some function w1, integrating it over the domain, you get an algebraic set of equations. And because everything error is basically nothing but a function of polynomial functions, you can integrate it very easily. So, you get one algebraic set of algebraic equations, then you find it for the next first element, second element, third element, and you find element level equations for all the n's. Then you do the assembly, then the total size of your matrix will be n plus 1 for linear, n plus 1 plus n for quadratic, and so on and so forth. So, this is by assembly process. So, once we have done the assembly, I have captured the whole geometry of the system in my equations. We have started from r is equal to ri to r is equal to r naught, पूरा geometry capture कर लिया. Also, I have captured material properties, because when I am finding the error, material property is coming here. Okay. So, I have captured the role of material properties also. I have captured the role of material property also in my equation. Also, I have captured the heat, this is actually a heat transfer equation. So, I have captured the overall physical phenomena. Material property is also embedded in the matrix equation. Geometry is also captured in the matrix equation. Is this clear? What is it that we have not yet captured? There is one thing which we have not captured. Boundary condition. We have not captured boundary condition, because when we are using this equation, we have not used any boundary condition. We have not used any boundary condition. And that is what we do once the assembly has been done. Once the whole thing, all the equations have been assembled, then I say, okay, what are my boundary conditions? So, I say, okay, my first boundary condition is, where is the boundary condition? That temperature at outside radius is T naught. Okay. So, I go to my assembly and T naught will correspond to the last node, right, and this is a column of all the temperatures, right. This is T1 first node, T2 and whatever is n plus 1 nodes for linear elements, or 2n plus 1 for quadratic elements. So, this is the last node. So, I say, okay, I will put in this vector, it will not be unknown now, it is known, and its value is T0, its value is T0. So, I put that boundary condition here, and similarly the other boundary condition was that there is no, at the inner radius, there is no flow of heat happening, which means that this mathematical condition has to be prescribed, and that is also what we do somehow in this set of equations. What do we do, how do we do, we will learn later. We do something on this side. Okay. We do something on this side. We will understand that mathematics later. So, now we have assembled, when we assemble, we capture the geometry and the phenomena, and then at the assembly level we put in conditions. We put in the boundary conditions, and then we have captured the whole physics of the problem, and when then we solve these equations and we calculate T1, T2, because there are number of variables unknowns and number of equations is same. This is what we accomplish through assembly process. How it happens we will learn later, but so at this stage we compute all the unknowns and we get the numerical solution for the problem. We do not get a formula, we get the numerical solution, because when you are using matrices you will get some numbers. Okay? So that is what I wanted to discuss. Thanks.